Alright, so, hello everyone, welcome back to Factorio. So let's click resume so we can get started. So, when we last left off, we were working on Fulgora, and we had gotten a nice fancy sorting system set up so that all of the outputs of this can get dealt with. And so the problem now is that this part where we split everything off the belts is not fast enough still. So we need to figure out how to get this working. So currently the limiting factor is basically the belt speed. Well, it's basically these stack inserter speeds, right? So we have like one stack inserter per item basically, which is not very fast. So let's see what we can do about that. So one thing that we can do is we can just set it up so that we don't have to do the stack stuff. All right, let's see here. We are going to set up a new design. So let's go over here, and we're just going to use the blue ones for this now. Actually, we can just copy paste that part because we're definitely using this. Like, this is definitely the base of what we're building here. So what we need to do is we need some way of getting this stuff stacked up. So basically the problem is the stuff coming directly out of the recyclers isn't necessarily full stacks of items, whereas we want it to be full stacks of items for this purpose. Also, is that a blue belt in there on the... Yes, there was one blue belt on that green circuit line, which obviously completely defeats the purpose. So let's upgrade that, but that's really not super important to what we're doing here. So previously what we'd done is we'd had this sort of setup where it goes into a stack inserter and into a steel chest, and then stack inserted back off the other side. And the problem with that is, of course, that it's not fast enough. So this is one stack inserter, which is not capable of taking everything that we need it to. So let's see if we can upgrade that to a way that makes it better. So if we do something like this, then you have two of those, and then two of those. Then you can output like that somehow. And that would hopefully... Actually, is there a way we can set this to use both sides of the belt, I wonder? Let's see, so these outputs, they put them on the bottom side of the belts there. So if we have it go like that, then I guess, but that's starting to get quite long is the problem. It's starting to get quite long, and actually I think stacking them up at this point is a mistake. I think we need to work on the recycler side of things to get them stacked. And I think I thought of a way of doing that. Let's see if I can remember. So you output directly into a chest, and then the chest takes a stack inserter output, and then this is... It needs a decider combinator, though, to work properly, I think. which is a bit of a shame, but it's fine. So we have that, and now this combinator feeds from there and goes to there. So you are going to be set filters, and you are going to be and each item is greater than what's the stack size of this? 16. So each greater than 16, output each. So that should hopefully do it. And then we just have to create our belts out of this, and then that will mean that we have all full stacks going up here, so we don't need to worry about it anymore in the sorting system. Now, this could fail, but probably will be fine. It'll probably be better at least, right? So what we need to do is we just need to make a big giant row out of these guys. So let's see here. You're gonna get upgraded, and then you have that belt, and then you have your input, which I guess the input for these can be stack inserters just to get it extra fast. And are we just out of drone range over this way? Yes, we are. Okay, let's get a drone port in right there so that we don't have to worry about that. Just going off the edge of the drone coverage ever so slightly. And then we have our belt input, and now we can copy paste this a whole bunch. And how much? I believe we'd figured out that we need like theoretically 4 of these on a row, but we decided to do a bit more just to make sure. So let's get these coming in rows of 6, and then we can copy that. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to get both of these to output to opposite sides of the same belt, like that. And then we just need to take a splitter into here, and apparently we need lightning collector protection up in this area as well, so let's just pop one over there. And then these belts go in like that, and we're going to make sure to upgrade everything in that area. So now this should be fully functional, I think. And it's just a matter of this RoboPort not being connected up. I see. That power pole isn't connected up to those power poles, which is causing that problem. Alright, that's fine though. So we just need to copy this and paste it into these areas. So we want to have 4 of these, right? So copy you, and we are going to the train tracks going on top of us here are definitely in the way. And let's actually just get the substations in here, so we have those in the blueprint as well. We don't need to worry about it. Okay, now we will dismantle all of this stuff and then get the train tracks remantled. So that goes back in, and then this is all going to be pretty busy. Oh, we need to get the... Where are they? The train supports back in as well. So you go back in, and you go back in, and I think those are the only two. And so now we just have all these drones that are dismantling this previous setup. And it's going to take them a while, but they'll get there eventually. Fortunately, this is the spot where we put a bunch of storage chests. So hopefully that will save some time and some drones being damaged. There's a lot of just random junk that they have to pick up. All this scrap on the belts are causing problems. And let's get the Spidertron in here, actually. That will be helpful for doing all this. There's got to be some way of deconstructing something. But I don't know what it is. So we're going to have to deconstruct all of this and then immediately rebuild it, I guess. Which is super annoying. But hopefully the Spidertron can do some work there. And it's going to fill up its inventory pretty quickly with scrap and other junk. And that will be that. So this is certainly taking a while, but it says that we have all the drones assigned now. There's nothing that doesn't have a drone assigned to it. So it should be a little bit faster. And we've got a whole bunch of drones charging. This is another situation where legendary quality low reports would be just like marginally useful. But I'm sure it'll get there eventually. We are dropping more robots, which is nice. So the number of logistics bots gets boosted up a bit. And how has this gone in the meantime? Progress has been quite minimal, all things considered. Okay, let's get the Spidertron to like run down here to the storage chests just so that this can all go faster. And are you low on power? No, you still have a good amount of power in your batteries. It's probably all those drones which don't have power. Alright, so that is getting all that stuff filtered out. And let's add on some of these other items to the list of things for you to not carry. So that's ice cubes and solid fuel and holmium plates. So all of those are now cleared out. And the Spidertron now has enough space. Now let's run it back up and get it working on this dismantling again. So it's going to be a whole lot faster than the drones which have to travel across the planet to get anything done. So there we go. All these guys have quite a lot of stuff in their inventories, it seems. Alright, so that all goes out. And I just had a thought about this, which we also want to check the recyclers so that if their outputs, so if this box is almost full, then we don't want the recycler to work. I don't know. It should be fine, probably. Alright. so Spidertron, once again, filled up. Let's bring you down to here, and apparently this whole thing has been disconnected from the power grid somehow. I assume you were connected to the power grid up through this area, and we've since dismantled that. So let's get that connected down so that that can all start working again. And probably there is a drone port in there as well, which we need to account for. That's too far up. We need it to connect down to this one. So that drone port can go in there and then get powered. Alright, so Spidertron is... It's got a whole lot of low density structures now, and blue circuits, and red circuits. So all of those can get automatically filtered out. And it's also got a whole bunch of concrete. Just got to keep its inventory as low as possible so that it can do as much work as possible when we send it up this way. It looks like we're getting there. It looks like this area has been mostly cleared out. And now the Spidertron is standing in here. And okay, it's just started doing stuff. And it seems to be working. Okay, what about these trains? So this train needs to empty its inventory before it'll leave, and that's never going to happen. So that's fine. Are you not going to put that rail there? We have the Spidertron right here. Are you... Oh, is the Spidertron... Yeah, the Spidertron's out of power. So that's unfortunate. But it looks like we've more or less finished with all this. So we can copy you and just place you in 4 times in a row. And then we will work out where exactly that needs to be placed. So you go in here and there, and so now we have our proper row set up, and the Spidertron can run over there and do some stuff. Just to help that out a little bit, because we have a bit of dismantling to do, and then we just need to get all of these guys branched up. So it's slightly different, sort of over to the side now, but it should be fine. Just take this, and we run you over. Actually, we can save some belt space on this side. So we run you over this way. Then we get this one to go up this way. And that's the wrong belt speed. So let's get those upgraded. And then we get you up this way. And that doesn't need to be an underground belt. That can just be a regular belt. And then finally we get this last one up that way, and that should be everything all connected in. And that one we also didn't do the belt upgrades for, so let's get that. Okay, so then all we need to do is take out that whole row and just convert those into straightforwards belts instead of that current setup. So now this just goes forwards like so. And then it'll be all set up once we get all these guys in. And let's just copy that and place all those new belts where they need to go, like that. Alright, now we take these scrap input belts and we run them into here. And then you go over this way. Of course, that's just randomly where the RoboPort happens to be. So we have to take that belt out and move it down that way. And then this belt goes all the way down this way. And then I think I was dragging the wrong type of belt there. Although maybe this entire thing is the wrong type of belt. So let's get all of these guys upgraded. And that belt doesn't need to exist still, so we can remove it. Okay, so now that train is left. And this seems to all be working now. So now we're doing a lot better in terms of how many items are getting output just onto this section of the belt. And we can actually make these rows longer without breaking anything because it's all pre-split. So that's a huge improvement. And now we just need to dismantle all of that, which wasn't getting built for whatever reason, and then put a new one in and get the Spidertron over there to do that. And we have a whole bunch of drones still waiting on upgrading all of these belts, which I don't know why do we... Oh, is this whole area still not connected properly? Yes, that whole area is still connected wrong. We need just a couple power poles up that way. And we apparently also need a substation over there. And now that's powered, so the whole thing is connected again. And you should now have access to all 1,000-ish bots, which should get this whole thing powered up in no time. And that's probably the belts coming down from a random buffer chest that we have somewhere. So that can all get in. And we are now looking pretty dang good. So I guess we can just keep upgrading this until we actually hit a belt speed limitation. And all of these guys are individually keeping up with their outputs, right? So there's no problems with those. So that's all good. Why is that? Do we not have... We're out of substations on Fulgora. Okay, let's get over here and tell you to request some substations then. Just probably like 20 of them. We don't use that many at a time. And then Fulgora support. Do you have substations? No, so let's get you to request some substations, and then that will get built up eventually, and in the meantime we'll just do this with regular old boring power poles. So we just do something like that, and now that's all working. Alright, so now this is all going properly. Although, okay, yeah, no, we do have inputs on all the different sides of everything. So I don't know how... I guess it must be because these ones didn't get upgraded for longer, so they got a bit of a head start. So hopefully that will eventually fall behind and get back to normal. Like, we do see there are periods where those ones are unloading where these ones aren't, so we just want everything to catch up and run at a normal rate. Alright, so this is all going out. And it's going as fast as it can. Nothing to see here. So, the question is, like, is this filling up or emptying? Like, is our scrap supply keeping up with the demand? We're getting pretty... We got a bunch of trains back to back. I don't see one incoming at the moment. It might just be further away. Yeah, and it is showing up now. So that's going. And actually this front cargo train, is it able to output fast enough? It seems like it is, at least for now. Okay, let's see about expanding this then. So, each of these individual rows is currently not belt speed limited or anything. It's just going straight through and being fine. So, if we can just squeeze some extra space up here. So, we have this belt coming all the way in up that way. Then that is going to need to be upgraded. So, now that that is in, we can have you go there, you... Actually, let's let you finish off just to get all those items out. So you can just drain, and then we disconnect that so that those belts go away, give us some extra space. And then this one, we're going to do the same thing. So you go all the way back to there. And then up. And did I get... No, I got the wrong speed belts in again. So that then goes up to that way and needs to be upgraded. And then this side needs to be removed. So all we're doing here is we're pushing these belts to be further up so that we can take this horizontal space to squeeze more of them in. And now we just have to do the same thing here. And that goes up that way. That belt gets removed. All of these belts get removed. And now we just have this last one. So you go out this way, up there. Let's get the Spidertron to stand a little bit closer just because it seems like some of those it wasn't close enough for. So then we get that built in, get that removed. And so now this is theoretically all the extra space that we have. So if we just copy paste this entire setup, actually we can just copy paste like everything back to there. And then, wait, no, we need to do it more accurately. We copy from there. We copy right from the substation and then down. Then we build this up to there, and that's the furthest up it can go. So we can fit in just a couple more recyclers and everything. And these substations are still enough to reach all of the machines. And we just need them all to get built. And there we go. Okay, now we need the substations to be connected up to the power grid. So we get that going, and then... Okay, apparently there are a couple machines right in the center which aren't getting reached by the substations. That's not good. It's still technically a slight improvement, but we're going to need to get legendary substations in here, which hopefully should be achievable pretty soon. So the alternative is we'd need to squeeze in some power poles somewhere, like here. Does the power pole there work? Someone get those underground belts built so that I can tell if it allows these to output or not. Wait, no, that's definitely the wrong spot, because these are the actual output belts. So we need the power pole to be like there, and then the underground belts to go there. So the underground belts start there and then just go over to there. And then they get upgraded. And then this one gets upgraded, and any second now. That'll get built in. Why is it taking it so insanely long? There we go. So now everything can go through again, and these ones are outputting, so that's all fine. So we just need to copy paste this setup somewhere, like on this row, and that will work and get everything outputting as fast as possible. And for some reason that's made it decide to swap the connections to that. Alright, but that's all functional again. And these extra scrap things are draining out over time now. So it won't be long before it's all evened out. And so now we have more of the stuff going in. And it's going to be running through a whole lot faster now. So that train shows up and basically instantly leaves, which is a pretty good sign for our ability to deal with scrap throughput. That everything that goes in basically just gets put onto the belts immediately. So there we go. And once these two chests are done, then we'll be completely evened out. Okay, so now we're at the point where none of the boxes have any scrap in them before a train shows up. And we do have some trains showing up, so that's all good. And now we just need all of these outputs to work properly. And it looks like they are. So we should be all set up and ready to go now. And did we ever get that... Did we ever get that scrap inserter system? I could have sworn we had... We must have dismantled it. Yeah, we must have dismantled it, so that's fine. Just a system of putting scrap from the storage network back into back into the system. And let's pop that in. So I guess it doesn't really matter where we put it, but let's have you, and then stack inserter, and this is going to be requesting 500 scrap at a time and putting it onto these belts, which shouldn't make a huge difference in the long run. It should just be getting all this stuff so that it's actually used and not just wasted. Okay, so now let's look over here, and the gear wheels are stressing, but they are outputting everything. The steel plates are similarly very, very slow. Are they working or not? It looks like the steel plates might be backlogging, even with all this. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to take this belt. This is incredibly scuffed. But we take this belt and we wrap it along and into here. And output priority would be right, I think, on that. Just so that we get more use out of this upper row of steel recyclers. So that will happen, and then it'll backlog. And now we're at least using more of this row, although it's not working properly. Okay, we need more help. So this is backlogging, and we need to make this whole thing more compact. So let's actually just redesign this spot entirely. Gosh, steel recycling really stinks, apparently. It's just so slow. Like 1.5 per second per recycler is pretty bad. Looks like we almost have the full thing under control, though. Like, that's something at least. So it looks like this might be able to manage it on average, as long as the next steel train isn't coming soon. So where is the next steel train? You are definitely not showing up anytime extremely soon. So if this whole thing, okay, this machine doesn't even have an inserter, so let's get that going. But this entire thing is still working, but it's unclear how well, if this is going to backlog soon or not. And the best way of preventing that from happening is we just need to figure out all this loop back stuff. So, like this guy here, you are just slowly stacking up the amount of steel plates that you're outputting occasionally, but mostly not doing anything useful. Which means that once these guys all back up, then the whole thing is basically just gonna break. So you're taking input priority from up here, but the whole thing is backlogged, so this isn't working. Okay, yeah, let's see how we can go about redesigning this. It does look like we have things under control for the amount of steel that we have. Like, this is about to run dry, and then we should be totally fine from there, unless more steel shows up soon, which it's not going to. Okay, so yeah, this should be okay. These last couple boxes are going to drain, and then it'll be all good, as long as these guys don't fill up and stop running in the next little bit. But I definitely want to rework this so that it is more productive. So yeah, now the supply of fresh steel coming in is gone. And that should get things back under control, and all this steel should drain off, and we'll be fine. And once that happens, let's actually just preemptively remove that belt so that even if another steel train shows up while we're doing this design, it doesn't break anything. Okay, so now this is going, and all of these guys have the ability to output their excess. And it's all draining out, and we're good to go. Okay, so that is good. Just have a little bit left, and then it'll all drain. There we go, that's happening now. I really just want this to be empty so I don't have to pick up the hundreds of steel plates off of the belt before we do the redesign. And this is probably mostly just going to be needed here for the steel plates because because the recycling is so slow, but the supply is relatively high. Alright, so that is almost as drained as it's going to be. We just need these last little bits to get out. And then we are going to tear this out and replace it with a more coherent setup. So this is all almost there. And it's just like this one half a row, but there's just so much backlog on the belt and the machines are so slow that it actually just takes an insane amount of time. It's entirely possible that other systems also need upgrading while we're sitting here staring at this, but I don't want to get distracted and forget about it and then have everything break. Okay, we're just about there now. Now it's pretty much just recycled stuff at this point. And yeah, we're good enough that I'm fine dismantling you all now. So this all goes away. I'm not destroying any drone ports or anything, right? Right. So that all gets dismantled, and there is that one road down the center which has a bunch of steel on it, but that is fine because that's just only the one. So all that goes away. Somehow you managed to pick up some holmium ore. Oh, I just had some ruins up there. That's fine, that makes sense. Alright, so all this stuff goes out. And we've also managed to break the power connection off to this side of things, which isn't a concern. That'll get rebuilt when we're doing this. So, all we have now is we have this steel input and that steel output. So, let's get a high-speed belt. Let's get all of those removed. Can I just remove those belts underneath there? I can. Barely. Okay, so let's get this belt going down this way and then over and then back up. Just like that. That's perfect. And then we get lightning coverage down there, and everywhere else on this island seems to be set. Okay, so that lightning collector that we built there wasn't within drone range. That one is. Alright, so Spidertron gets all that built, and now we're all covered. And then we're also going to run this power line around here. So now this side of everything is connected, including this drone port, which is important. And that should get rebooted, and now everything is fine again. And now the Spidertron is getting all this excess steel taken away. That's good. Okay, so now we get our splitter here, which is output priority left. And then this belt goes down this way. And this is our excess steel output, which we have. And then we just need a bunch of recyclers. So let's figure out how we're going to get this set up. So where's... Recyclers are in here. And we just need, like, a really long row of them, probably. And maybe have that go on two sides. So let's get, like, a recycler there, recycler there. Then this belt is going to split. That was too late on the belt. You need to be back there, actually. And so that goes up that way. Then this other one goes up that way. And these can get stack inserters, although I don't think it really matters. Yeah, no, it definitely doesn't matter because of how slow this is. So they just get bulk inserters. And then they output onto a turbo transport belt like that. And they are going to be... Yeah, they can just get power poles like that, which are going to connect down there. Now we speed module these, and now we just need to copy paste this setup up a whole bunch. So just a belt on that side, so let's get that in. So this gets to be a massive line of machines. So that goes all the way up there and gets everything all set up. And let's see, this should be enough throughput so that we just need to... Okay, so the steel plates are here, and this isn't quite finished yet, but that's fine. It's getting built. So we'll now be able to see the the numbers on these to make sure that they work properly. Alright, so this is not enough to take in all of the steel output in like a continual stream. So let's just copy that and add a whole bunch more on up, and then that can all get built. And then we're going to have to build a second row to do the looping on the much smaller amount of output that we have here. So we take this belt, you go over this way, and then you are just going to go back down that way, actually. Something like that. And then we get a whole row of machines. And they are going to be fed some steel, like that, and speed modules like that. And then they output up this way, and then loop around like that, and then they filter back in, and input priority right, output priority doesn't matter. So then we get more power poles into all of these. And so that loop goes around now. And these guys are hilariously slow as is. But if we just add in... We don't have enough speed modules here on Fulgora, unfortunately. Transport platform doesn't have any extras to deliver. Fulgora support is picking them up, and we'll be here in a moment. So for now, we will just get this whole setup copy-pasted down a bit. So that will hopefully do it. And then we might need that. Hopefully we won't. Alright, so this is what I was worried about, is that these guys are not taking in enough. So we just need all of these extra recyclers to show up, and we need all the speed modules to show up. And so with all of these guys doing their recycling, it shouldn't be that much steel coming out of here. And then that should hopefully give space for this top row of recycling to work properly, and just deal with the rest of it and do the whole loop thing. So that is going. It seems to be going pretty well. And it looks like, at least at the low speed this is running at, it's not like using anywhere near a full belt. Right, so each of these is going to be 0.37 each, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's going to be 5-ish. Okay, so we don't actually need this loop, and I think it's beneficial to put them all on the same side, because that's the inside which gets priority from the splitters. So that should be all good. Once Fulgora support gets here, these will all start running really fast. Okay, where is this? So this attack on Novice is coming over this way. We have an artillery turret there. And that the cloud expands out a pretty big ways there. So we're probably going to have to fix that at some point, but it doesn't seem super urgent. Alright, so this is continuing to loop around. And it is getting stuff done. Now we have currently no new input from this side. So these machines aren't getting more steel, so we can't tell what it'll look like if there's an infinite supply of steel, but it looks like it's working fine, and it should be even better once these recyclers go faster. So hopefully that's okay. And as is, we're about to deal with this last chunk of steel in there. So yeah, currently the problem is that it's just very slow to do the recycling. So So we need this whole thing to go faster so that, because this is sort of a limiting factor on how fast the entire system runs. But that will happen eventually. So over here on the stone loop sure is looping. And we don't have huge buffers in any of those input chests. This is running kind of fast. That could stand to be faster, but it's probably fine. Likewise with this, that's about to run out of excess space. We're still nowhere near using up all the scrap. Well, speaking of using up all the scrap, I believe if we go over to Vulcanus, big mining drills require a whole bunch of legendary items and tungsten carbide. And we have tungsten carbide now, right? So that is coming out of this system here. We've got 72 legendary tungsten carbide, which is enough for like 3 big mining drills, which is pretty terrible. So we're gonna have to work on improving that. Is this tungsten supply still working well? Yes, but it's not like moduled or anything, which actually makes me a little bit nervous. So let's... Vulcanus has productivity modules, right? Yeah. So this isn't an efficient use of the tungsten, which is bad. Okay, actually, what we need to do isn't just productivity module, because that's just going to slow down our extraction by a huge amount. But what we need to do is we need to also get the speed modules in here. So if we actually just go to Fulgora and we grab this, we just copy paste this blob there, and we just bring that over to Vulcanus. Then we can paste that in, and I can't see what's going on here because it's all overwriting itself, but this looks like it's outputting downwards, which I'm gonna have to flip these belts around, which should be fine. So then in the meantime, let's get more of this stuff built. I cannot see at all what's going on with these rows. So, are we running low on anything on Vulcanus? Yeah, technically there's some foundation stuff that we need there, but it should be fine. And we also need to get that connected back up. And then we need these belts to go upwards, like that. And then this belt goes upwards, and why does it seem like some of those are just pointing in the opposite direction? Okay, so this is the belt. This is the belt from these guys down here. So let's dismantle all of these guys, which are going to be just very slow and silly. So all of that stuff gets dismantled, and also just some random demolisher remains, which are here apparently. So then we get these belts, which point back upwards. And now we just need to get all of these guys pointed around. So you point up that way, and then merge into that. Then you go up a little bit, and then merge into that. And then you are already merging into that, so that should be all good. Okay, now let's remove this belt, which doesn't do anything, just so that we can see what exactly it is that we're dealing with here. So we have sort of these lanes of 2 rows of mining drills. So let's get this in to here, and okay, that's gonna destroy the drone port. So the drone port goes up there first, and then we'll have, hopefully, we don't need those 2 just now. So then we just need to turn this whole thing around, and that will be our output for that row. So these are... oh, we need to get these conveyor lifts turned around as well. So now we've got all of that. And then we get that one connected up. And get all of these belts turned around properly. And that looks like that's everything. So now this should give us a better supply. This should give us a better supply of tungsten. And then we can also just push you down a little bit. Like that. Which some of that won't get built because it needs foundations, but some of it will get built, and that will provide us with a bit more output of this. And then we should get higher efficiency out of our tungsten deposit while also just running faster. And both of those things are quite good to have. And then I guess we can also get around to delivering some foundation to Vulcanus at some point. But it needs 2 speed modules, which isn't Vulcanus the home of speed modules? Yes. What are you short on? Okay, it's just a production rate thing. So we need to... let's actually just get all of you queued up to have more speed modules as well. Just so that eventually that whole thing will go a bit faster. Okay, so then back over to Fulgora. We've got some of these chain signals. I don't understand what they're doing. Okay, a lot of these guys are full. How's the steel going? And how's the gear wheels going? The gear wheels are going fine. They're draining all that stuff out pretty dang fast. The steel is up here, and it is working at least. It got most of its speed modules, but not all of them. Now it's just sort of... now it's just churning through. And hopefully that will leave all of this... how fast is this going? Not super fast, but it could be a lot worse. It's already mostly drained. So yeah, the only thing we need to speed this up is just more recyclers along this row. So let's just do another major expansion down there. And that should accelerate things a little bit. And then once all the speed modules come in, it'll accelerate them even more. And that should be enough. Actually, while we're here... okay, this is slightly actually misaligned with this row, so that's fine. So we're just going to have to wait for all of these recyclers to show up and get things going a little faster on the steel cracking. Alright, that's going. And here come the new recyclers, which are now running along at a normal rate. So that will help us out a little bit. And we should be all good from there. So now what we want to do is, now that we have all this stuff, let's go down here to check, because actually the... Okay, yeah, so this is what I was worried about. The batteries are all jammed up. So we need this, the same sort of thing where the batteries get their outputs don't loop back into the first row. These outputs instead, let's get the Spidertron moving down here because we're going to be doing some work in this area. Instead, the batteries are going to go along like that, and then they are going to feed into an entirely separate row of recyclers, which will hopefully have... Alright, the Spidertron's almost here. So hopefully all this will make it so that we don't have to loop these plates back in. Okay, I don't know what all that's about. So we won't have to loop the plates back into this first line of recyclers, and they will have their own outputs, which will go out this way. And then, okay, we actually do need these guys to have a bit of a loop though. So you go into there, and then you come around and into there. Input priority left for you. And let's see, I think we want to upgrade all those belts. And you don't have, like, major requests for belts. And there's something in there that's preventing that from working. Like that turbo transport belt marked for deconstruction is not getting deconstructed. So that's weird. So everything else is getting deconstructed nice and fast. Okay. It got deconstructed eventually, and I guess that's what matters. So now we can put in a turbo splitter there. Input priority left. And then that goes through. So now this first row has a designated second row to output its stuff. And these are 1.5 of each. And these can take 2.5 of each. So this row... Okay, it's going to either need the speed modules to show up, or it's going to need to be longer. And let's just make it longer. That seems like the easier route. So let's just add in another couple of those. Shouldn't need much. So that is going now. And the Spidertron doesn't have requests for many things. Let's... you don't have much inventory space either is the thing. And we'd have to remove some stuff from your belt to give you inventory space, or make legendary Spidertrons, which would be very difficult. Alright, so but this is working. It's not completely jammed anymore. But there's a lot of batteries to get rid of. And there's a lot of batteries to get rid of. Theoretically, shouldn't be that many, like, in an overall supply, but it's just been stockpiled like this. Our red circuit's the same, yes. Our blue circuit's the same, yes. Copper wire is not the same. Alright, so... we have this whole setup. Let's just copy-paste this and get it in up here. And great, that we didn't need that for that one, but it's fine. It can get it anyways. Let's just get that in for all three of those. And so those builds can happen, and then we might just need to expand the rows, but we should be fine other than that. So these outputs here are pretty close to like a full belt or so, which is a bit spooky. How much battery recycling? It's 0 to 1 each. And is that just 50-50, or battery recycling is 25% of each? So there's like a 50% chance that a battery turns into something. There's not a very high chance, but you know, it is technically a chance. So that's just running. I don't know how long that's going to take, and I don't know how long it needs. So let's go up to the battery row, and how full is this train? Pretty full, but okay, so the only limiting factor right now is just the scrap supply. So it's taking the batteries quite a while, so hopefully this will be enough. And these guys are taking their sweet time to get built as well. But this one seems to be partially functional at least. The red circuits aren't completely bricked. And the blue circuits are completely bricked still. So are there just drones making some ridiculously long journey down here to deal with that? Is that what these guys are doing? It's gotta be, right? So these guys come all the way down here. And oh no, those were doing some construction on this. Alright, so now aside from the lack of speed modules, the blue circuit side of things is all good. But there's a lot of green circuit output that we need to deal with. And that could be very, very costly. So we are already seeing this is struggling a little bit to deal with all the outputs. The red circuits, meanwhile, seem to have things under control. So this is just going, and the first ones here are output full. So, okay, so what's happening is that these are outputting to one side of the belt, which is the same side of the belt that these guys are outputting to. And that is potentially a bit inefficient. So we might be able to get a bit more... We might be able to get a little bit more throughput if we fix that. So all we need to do to fix that is we just take this, we bring you around to that side of the belt. So there we go. Now, actually, wait, that's wrong, right? That's the opposite of what we want to do. Hang on. No, because the near side of the belt is prioritized by the inserters. So if we have these guys go to the far side of the belt, then they're just going to not get prioritized by the inserters, and this stuff will get prioritized by the inserters, and that's bad. So what we actually need to do is we need these guys to go like that. Alright, so that should be better, although still very much target full on most of these guys. But that's fine. So these guys will get speed modules eventually, and then they'll be good to go. blue circuits are still looping around. So we can do the same thing here for them. So we just need that to get built in, and now this whole thing can be a little bit better. Gosh, we really badly need all these speed modules. So, transport platform, you are over Fulgora right now. Let's bring you back to Novice. Fulgora support is also headed back to Novice, and you're moving like 50 speed modules at a time. How many tier 3 speed modules does Novice even have? I suspect the number is pretty small. In fact, we might even be out entirely. So this is our request there for M100. So yeah, we only have like 50 speed modules over Novice. So if we go over to Vulcanus, which is the source of speed modules, we've got just this one production chain of them here. Okay, so we need to expand that. So it's just red. It's just the circuits. This should be easy to expand, I think. So we've got this nice whole line of red and blue circuits. So let's expand you out a bit and get a couple of these guys in. And maybe let's do 4 of these just as a nice even number. So you are going to make tier 1 speed no, you don't have tier 1 speed modules in you. You make tier 1 speed modules. So you want to have tier 3 speed modules in you as they become available. Because you can't productivity module these, so you might as well speed module them so that the production is faster. Okay, so then those are going to be producing those. Wait, no, I set that wrong again somehow. So you get set up like that. So that gives us 0.14 tier 1 speed modules per second. Then we need to make tier 2s. And each of these takes 0.16. Although with the modules, who knows what'll happen with the exact ratio. Vulcanus itself is still low on speed modules, which is why we're doing this. Okay, so for now we're just going to have you output on a row this way. And then we're going to take off of that row here. Wait, even more efficient. I think we want this to loop back around so that we have access to the entire row on the entire row of tier 2s. So we do that. You get those queued up. And then you need red and blue circuits. And then we get you an output row, which will also be doing the same loop around, like that. And then you will be doing tier 3s. And that should be fine. We're probably not going to be using all of these in terms of their production, but that's fine. So now let's get all of these guys moduled up. And so those all go in like that. So they all have their modules. And so now the tier 1 modules are going out. And we need to add the blue circuits we need to add the red and blue circuits to the tier 2 modules, which I definitely should have considered that before I built all this system up. Whoops. Alright, so you need red and blue circuits, and a decent amount of them. So those will come in up top this way, I guess. So those go in there from a belt over this way, which will just probably request or chest them in. So those are going to be requester chested in. And wait, in order to get two things on the requester chest, we need a little bit more work than that. We need one there and one there. And then you get to be requesting advanced circuits. You get to be requesting processing units. And then those go into here, and then you output up here onto that belt. So that should make us our tier 2 speed modules. And let's also get you queued up to have your own speed modules. Okay, so then the tier 3 speed modules, you are going to need red circuits, blue circuits, and tungsten carbide. Right, processing unit productivity complete. Let's just keep doing that forever until I get bored of it, because having infinite processing units seems like a good idea to me. Okay, so we need... This belt is going to wrap back around up like that. This belt will also go up, and let's see here. Okay, let's actually... Does this belt do anything? No, this is our old coal belt, so this belt doesn't need to exist at all. So we can just remove that entirely, and then take these guys out to make another belt going out this way, like that. So now this goes up here and then loops around, and then we get these assembly machines in. And I just remember that you can do these with EM plants. We have EM plants on Vulcanus, right? That's what we built out of these. Alright, and that will be more resource efficient too. I probably should. But it's going to mean disassembling this entire thing. Alright, so first, let's just deconstruct all that. Second, it seems like we actually have a red circuit supply problem anyways. So what's up with that? Where do the red circuits get made? They get made back here, and they don't have any plastic. Why do we not have any plastic? Where is our plastic production on this planet? It's here. Is that all? Just those two machines making plastic? Alright, that is kind of abysmal. Basically just the worst. Alright, so can we make... Is red circuits one of the things that we can make in EM plants as well? Go over here, yes. So we can make red circuits and modules and everything in EM plants. So that will help us with our plastic supply. Now, plastic requires coal and petroleum gas. And we've got this coal belt here, which is coming in from the space platform, but it seems like there should be enough of it. So let's copy paste you over just to get another one of these guys in, just so that we can have closer to a full belt here. So that is now going. How's the drone ports, by the way? Yeah, we have plenty of logistics drones for this. So that's not a concern. So yeah, we have coal and petroleum gas. Seems like the petroleum gas supply is actually kind of bad. And is that just because these guys are all slow? Like, this whole setup is kind of horrifically inefficient. Okay, let's get that fixed up. We don't want to waste the coal because it's hard to get. So we will tier 3 module all of those guys. And this was the excess petroleum gas output. So we don't want to do anything with that. But we do want to just get modules on everything available for all of this, including our plastic supplies here. But does the plastic going on only one side of the belt, does that matter? No. So we can get plastic on both sides of the belt without breaking anything. So these guys are more efficient. They can also be speedier. Vulcanus does have its own supply of speed modules right now, so that's fine. And the red circuit's output is fast, but it's not efficient because it's not going on in EM plants. Okay, so let's get all of this plastic supply stuff upgraded. So down here, right, we've got coal, we've got petroleum gas. Let's get some cryogenic plants. And let's see, where's the best spot for this? Probably just like in this area here would make sense. So let's just put down a couple of you guys. And you are going to be the plastic production. And you are all going to be max productivity moduled. And then you're also going to get some speed beacons in there, although not a crazy amount. Just, you know, enough to take the edge off of the massive productivity bonuses. Okay, so now we have a coal belt going in along that way, which just goes in like that. You are still... Okay, the speed beacons don't work unless they're powered. So let's get those powered so that we can see what they look like now. So yeah, crafting speed is now at plus 30%. So these guys are 13.5 plastic each, whereas these guys are 8.6 each. So that is all good as far as the plastic supply is concerned. And then obviously they're going to be much more efficient as well because of all the productivity bonuses. And then we want to get a pipe in, which just goes something like that, and I have to make some room for it. And we're going to have to make some room for it. And that can connect into there. That can connect into there. Then that pipe goes up. Then that goes across and attaches up to the petroleum gas. So these guys all have petroleum gas supplies now. And so the next step is to connect the coal up to here, and this is a split off of the coal belt here. So we can take this down, and then it's going to have to dodge that explosives belt, then come down this way over here and get attached in. So then this will give us our plastic outputs, which can just go up like that. And then the current source, the current destination of all the plastic is this belt up here. So let's actually, first, we will get this set up to use both sides of the belt. Then we will bring this one up and combine into here. And we're going to then just remove these pre-existing plastic supplies, I think. So those can go out. And we just need to go up this way, which will be like this. And that should be connected up, no problem. And then we can dismantle that as well, so that we use both sides of the belt. And there it goes. All the plastic supply we need for whatever is using plastic over here, aside from just obviously the red circuits. So that goes through, and it seems to mostly be the red circuits. That goes through, and all the red circuits have plastic now. But I'm not sure. I think we want to swap this section out to use EM plants, which are annoyingly 4x4s instead of the 3x3s of the assembly machines. Okay, so if we take this out, these need wire, green circuits, and plastic. And we have all of those here, obviously. So let's dismantle this row of red circuit production. Just get that out entirely. And then we will take this green circuit belt down this way and just run it next to the wires and the plastic. So this all goes down this way. And we need the wires for some other things over there, so let's make sure to split those off. Okay, so now we have the space to build, and we are going to get in our rows of EM plants, which we're going to need a lot of, and let's have beacons in here as well. So let's get this all set up. So we have beacons. Got productivity modules, and let's see, is that it for this? Is that all that we need? Yeah, I think so. No. So let's make that row even longer, just for the fun of it. Then you get to be assigned to red circuits, and we're going to bring drone coverage down to here. And that's all going to have to be connected down, of course. Okay, so we need to get a whole lot of items into these machines and a whole lot of items out of these machines too. And why were you low power just now? no reason. There might have just been a disconnect of some sort. Okay, so we need to get 3 input belts and 1 output belt. Or we might actually need to crunch some of these items down onto a single belt. Okay, so let's see. The wire is definitely going to need to run directly past the machines. And that drone port is definitely in the way. You can just move slightly over that way so that you work. We don't have the EM plants here on Vulcanus, so let's get all this stuff over to there. You're carrying 20 more, so that should be fine. We're definitely going to need those. So that is going to go down, and then these power poles are going to have to be moved, and they are just going to run down that way, just to give some space, and we'll work about powering these on later. So this is the wire belt. Then we need another belt for the... Let's see, do we just have a near belt? No, we have another belt of input for the plastic. This wire belt is going to need all these underground belt pieces removed. So we have a belt of input for the wires, belt of input for the plastic. We have these power poles keep being in the way. I normally do these in a smart way that makes them not be in the way like this, but there we go. So then we have another belt of input for the green circuits, I guess. And then we have a belt of output for the red circuits. Okay, so now this is all set up. We need the wires to just go down to there. But we do need this to go underground very briefly so that the plastic can loop around that way. Then the green circuits loop through that way. And I believe this is meant to be the red circuit output. Yes. So this belt here, you go up there and connect across. Okay, so now we just get in the inserters. So those all get inserters, and they all get long-handled inserters. And then these all get long-handled outputs. And they all get inserters on this side. So that is all in. And then we get the power poles everywhere. Like that. And so now these guys are outputting properly. So the long-handled inserters are keeping up. So that's all good. And with only 3 of these, I don't know if this is going to be enough red circuit output. We definitely need the transport platform to show up here to give us some more of those guys. Now, where's the space platform cargo landing pad thing? Are you set up to request those? No, you're not. So let's get you to request 20 EM plants at a time. So now we'll have that going for us as well. And you have plenty of fusion power. You've got a depleting supply of coal, which hopefully the fact that we're using it more efficiently now will help with that a little bit. But we also still have... Oh, okay, no, it's not really depleting at all. We still have 8,000 of it. No problems there. so these guys are outputting red circuits at what? 1, 2, 3. So that they're like 3 each for these. So that's going to be 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 basically. Okay, so that is 11 red circuits per second going out, and then we need like less than 1 for that row of blue circuit construction, and then probably a couple for all of these guys, and then a small amount for everything past that point. So theoretically, what we have here should already be enough. Although it doesn't. If it is, then it's just backlogging, which it looks like it is. So that's backlogging successfully. Transport platform is here, so it should have dropped off, and it did drop off those more EM plants. So this should be extra fast in a minute once these last 2 go in. And it really doesn't look like it's going all that fast. But this is theoretically what it says it is. Oh, these bottom 2 don't have productivity modules yet, so those are going to have to go in. Okay, so that is what it is, and now this looks like a relatively respectable supply of red circuits. And we are going to then take that and make a whole bunch of blue circuits out of it. How's our blue circuit supply going, by the way? So these blue circuits over here aren't getting green circuits, but do they even have outputs? They do. And this is actually like a major supply. So the green circuits here need to get on the other side of this belt. And how did we do that? How did we get that to work? I'm not seeing it. But they were supposed to... Oh, I see. They were supposed to be on this belt here. Okay, so let's get that connected in. And we apparently don't have tier... We don't have blue splitters here, so let's just make that be a green splitter, which apparently Vulcanus also doesn't have. How is that possible? How is that at all possible? We definitely have 100 green splitters. Let's make sure to get a small provider chest of blue splitters as well, so we can just have all of those. Okay, so now this would be working if not for the fact that these both go on the same side of the belt as it is. So you need to come off like that, and then we need all of these belts to go away because these all have green circuits on the wrong side. So all that goes away, and then we obviously just have to build it back in, but correctly this time. But that one also has green belts on the wrong side. So that is all set up. And okay, so now we just need to get... These don't have to go all the way around that whole giant loop anymore. They can go just more directly in. So that gets dismantled. Are there like no... There are not that many construction drones on Vulcanus, but they're on to 0, so that's probably fine. So that belt attaches across like that, and that should give us this supply of blue circuits. There we go. So those are running now, and it's probably fine to use the to use the regular old assemblers for just blue circuits like this. Hopefully it won't break anything catastrophically. Very well might. Okay. Speaking of Vulcanus, we have all of those which we can drop down and potentially just finish off Vulcanus demands for modules, or at least get very close to it. Alright, so the red circuits are backlogging now. The blue circuits are tough to say, but hopefully they're doing fine as well. Okay, so this whole speed module shortage thing that we were dealing with, these machines here are still running. Let's get our setup in. So we need a supply of each type of circuits, and that we can grab off of this belt. So you are going to split, and you are going to get removed. So now we have red, blue, and green circuits. Alright, so first off, EM plants. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And you are going to be set to make tier 1 quality modules. Or speed modules, not quality, obviously. So that takes this belt, and that just runs across. And these guys get their inserters. So that all goes in. And we're going to need to connect that across, just like that. And then these we're going to want to be extra fast if possible. Okay, so then these guys output onto a belt, which will go back this way. So then we need to make tier 2 modules, which are red and blue. So these are red circuits, blue circuits, and tier 1 modules. So let's get a splitter on here. And how does this work? So we need to do that splitter and then do another splitter past it, which filters out red circuits so that we have red circuits progress through here but not get chopped off of this row. Okay, so that is fine. Now let's take that off, and then our blue circuit belt goes on to the other half of that. And so now we get 2 rows of inputs into this machine, like that and like that. And one of them will just be connected up to there, and the other one will be coming from there. So these machines here get speed modules, and we get 4 of them. And they're making tier 2. Alright, so now we get the inputs for these, like that, and like that. Alright, now let's get power poles in for all of these guys. And then we get the outputs for these, which are bulk inserters onto that way, and then you go around and loop back up in the same way that we just did. And then we need another row of inputs for the red and blue circuits. Hang on, what was this? So the tier 3 speed modules need the tier 2 speed modules, they need the red and blue circuits, and they also need tungsten carbide. So if we just put tungsten carbide onto the near side of this belt. So if we just have you loop around like that, and then we're going to need a requester chest to get the tungsten carbide in. How does this work? So you output onto the far side up there. You need to output onto the near side, so if you go like that, then this is the tungsten carbide. And this doesn't take much of it. Yeah, hardly any tungsten carbide, so that should be enough. And then we get a split off of our red and blue circuit belt here, which comes up and then goes through to that. And then we get 4 of those guys with speed modules. And then they get inputs from here and from back here. Okay, then that needs to extend a little bit. Okay, now we get power poles in this section. So we just do all of that, and then that one also gets some. And then, finally, we should be able to get those going up. And then all of these just go into a passive provider chest. And they get powered. And that will be everything. So this should be super fast. It's probably going to drain all of our blue circuits. If I had to guess, the blue circuits would be the thing that I would expect to run out of. But now we have a nice, healthy supply, and let's keep 4 stacks at a time. A nice, healthy supply of speed modules, which will start off by just filling off Vulcanus itself, and then we'll eventually propagate down into the space platforms to go to other planets. So that should be all that we need. And is Vulcanus, like, continually requesting more drones? Yes, you are. Let's have you stop requesting logistics robots, because we have thousands and thousands of them, and we definitely don't need that many. So you're all good. Now this is running and making how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're making like 0.8 per second approximately, which is reasonably fast, honestly. But that's only assuming we have enough of everything, and I think we don't. I think we would need to add more rows of this bottom stuff before we get completely done. And we need more red circuit production. That is quite obvious. So this is not getting enough green circuits. So we need more green circuit production, which is just copper cables and iron plates. You can't, like, make these directly, right? That would be crazy. Yeah, you can't directly make green circuits. So that's fine. So these guys here are... they are outputting via long-handled inserters. Okay, let's set up an EM plant-based system for the green circuits. So we are going to get an EM plant here, and it is going to make green circuits. So we need to put in a very, very large number of items per second into each one of these EM plants, especially considering the beacons that we're going to be doing. So, this is going to get all the beacons, just so that we know how much we need for everything. And then we get that electrical pole in as well, and we're probably going to have to move those in a moment. So this needs 28.4 copper wire per EM plant. That is insane. That's a huge amount. And it's also going to need 9 iron plates. Okay, so let me think. That is a whole lot of both, and it's also producing 18.9 green circuits. So I think that was the problem we had up here, right? Is that, like, most of these guys, because we had to move things, the outputs to the far side, it's only long-handled inserters, which are not anywhere near enough to handle 18 per second. So what we need to do is we need to get all of these guys in just independently. So here's what I'm thinking is we do like 1, 2, 3 inputs. Each of them gets a bulk inserter. Now, how much can a bulk inserter do? 12 per second. So a bulk inserter can do 12 per second, or 12 per rotation, and more than 2 rotations per second, so hopefully one of these will be enough to handle the copper wire. Although we could do stack inserters potentially. But so we have this set up, and then that means that in order to get things onto this, we now need basically like a main bus type system. So we have you go and do that, and then we have another row which goes in like that, and just realized I've been using the unupgraded versions, and another row which goes in and does that, and then these just go forwards like that. And then if we want this to tile properly, we have these outputs be on those rows instead. Not outputs, inputs rather. So we have all this, and this goes down as far as we need it to, then that whole thing gets upgraded, and then we get an output onto a belt, which goes up like that somehow. Okay, let's make sure to get all the power poles right now. So we need a power pole there, and a power pole there, and that should handle everything. Okay, so that should be fine. Now we just need to make this belt normal looking, and then connect that over. And now we just have to copy this like a couple of times, and that will surely be enough, right? And let's also, I don't know if, I think we have stack inserters here. So let's get stack inserters on those outputs so that the green circuits we get are stored more compactly. And now Vulcanus is apparently out of turbo belts. Why is that? Not enough lubricant. Okay, that's a bit concerning. Where does the lubricant come from? Is this connected up to anything at all? Okay, it's connected up to this unbarreler. And we have 40... Oh no, this is a packager, not an unpackager. So wait, then where does the lubricant come from? Okay, this pipe down here is the answer. We always miss the super long underground pipes. So this comes all the way down here and ultimately comes from this singular chemical plant. Okay, let's get the lubricant supply up. So, all we need to do is go speed modules there, productivity modules there and there, and then that gets connected up like so. And you get pasted. So now we have way more lubricant production. And let's also get a storage tank of this stuff. Okay, apparently we don't have storage tanks here on Vulcanus somehow. We have like one at least. Alright, where is our storage tank production meant to be? How do you make a storage tank? Iron and steel plates. So that should be trivial. We just need to find someplace with iron and steel plates. Like here, for example. Seems custom made for the job. So let's just get you to make a storage tanks and output them into a box. And you get powered up, and that should be good for that. Okay, so our lubricant production here is still running at full speed. Let's make full speed even faster with a couple more beacons. Because why not? Just pop those in. And they should be getting their modules. And now we also have the storage tank, which currently isn't doing much storaging. But that's fine because we did get all of the belts that we need. Okay, so let's go up here and let you store a lot more belts. Okay, now we go back here, and this is this whole setup. So we need... What did I have 3 inputs into here for? We definitely only need 2. That's fine, though. That's not gonna cause any massive problems. So, let's get this. This guy is output full most of the time. So you can just grab some of that. And then these go forwards a little bit. And we're just going to grab another belt of copper wire to bring down to here. And so these connect up like that onto a single belt. And then go into there. Okay, so now the iron plates. The iron plates is this. This is only 8 per second. We can upgrade it to tier 3 speed modules, I guess. And are you output full a lot of the time? Yes, you are. So let's also make you stack inserters. And then we will do the same thing for these guys up here. So you get tier 3 speed modules and stack inserters. So that should be much more efficient. Vulcanus is still working on its supply of modules. Looks like right now it's blue circuits which are the limiting factor. So that's fun. But let's get this green circuit stuff set up first. So, have we gotten all of our sources of iron plates upgraded? Is it just these 2 And that one, I think so. So yeah, this is now a fully stacked belt. So that can go over and now down into there. And that should give us our extra high efficiency green circuits. And now this can go up here and sort of loop around a bit, because we need you to go in this side of the belt. And now all of these guys are less efficient and don't stack as well, so let's just remove them from the ability to output. So all of these guys go away, and now we've got this as our supply. And it's hard to tell. So these guys were 6 and like 8 each, and there were 5 of them. These are like almost 20 each, and there are only 3 of them. And they are short on copper wires. So this makes 36. These need like 28 each, so yeah. No surprise that they're short on copper wires. Let's get another one of you guys in here to make even more. From what I remember, the supply of molten copper, like that takes 60. And if we follow this up here, our supply of molten copper is like almost 500, so I'm not super worried about wasting it with just direct speed modules into the machines. So let's get you set up, and then come on, someone dismantle that obstruction. Alright, so now this goes and merges in, and we get the power pole. And that should give us all of the copper wire that we need. And let's upgrade planar that little section, because the rest of this is green belt. Okay, so now this is all going out much better. And we have 72 copper wire going into this, more or less, so it should be enough. Okay, so now our red belts are backlogging again. Now, the major limiting factor is blue circuits. So blue circuits are red, green, and sulfuric acid. Okay, so we've got red and green here. And we've got sulfuric acid here. So let's just... yeah, I think we want to... I think, again, we want to dismantle the existing production so that our new production using the EM plants can take over entirely and it's more efficient. So let's get this pipe down here, and then we'll figure out all of this stuff. So if we want to keep the ability to expand the red circuits down that way. So here's what we do. We split the red circuits off there, we split the green circuits off there, and we just take both of them over this way, and then they can also loop down like that, and down like that, and then we get this in to make blue circuits, and this takes way more green circuits than red circuits, so it's a good thing I set this up with the green circuits being closer. And now we just create the old alternating pattern with all the modules that we could ever want, like that. And I guess that's where the underground pipe comes out, so this one's going to be slightly off center, but that doesn't really make a difference. Okay, so now we have our underground pipe here, which we need to have to dodge our output belt, which is going to go up this way. And then these attach up and combine into there. Then we get our inputs on this side, green and red circuits. And then we get the power poles in, and we get our output like that, which probably need those. So now we've got this set up. We can copy paste you a couple more times to get all of the blue circuits that we need. And we're going to be low on some supplies again, so let's get you going back to, I guess you can go to, wait, no, you're taking those from Novice, so I guess you can go to Novice to get the EM plants, to bring those back. And now all this stuff is getting built. Can we get one of these Vulcanist support guys to request EM plants, just so that EM plants from Novice, just so that we don't have to have the transport platform do it all the time. Alright, so this now supplies blue circuits, and we need to output them up onto this belt here. That should be straightforwards. So you just come out there, go in there, and then up that way. And that should be our blue circuit supply all set up and good. So there we go, blue circuits going out. And this should already be 4-ish per second, which is pretty decent. Now obviously we need this to do all of this complicated stuff. So you, what do? You just go up here, you loop around here, and then down to there. Is that all you do? How do we get the blue circuits? Because I know we have blue circuits up here. Are these like made in a separate blob or something? Oh no, these are just requester chested in. Okay, so that's fine. That's no concern as long as we get this stuff going better. So the blue circuits are going out again, and our rocket launches are now once again capable of doing stuff. Vulcanist is now only 3 productivity modules short of being done, and 78 foundations, which we'll have to get. We'll have to get someone on that at some point, but if we can get back to the point where we don't have constant missing items alerts, that would be pretty dang cool. So these take 4, 8. Alright, no, it's going to be more like 1, 2, 3. So this is going to take like 5 red circuits and like 50 green circuits to run these continually, which means we're going to need more green circuit production and more red circuit production. So that's why I made this stuff scalable. So that gets copy pasted down a bunch. This is going to get copy pasted down a bunch, and we are going to need to find a spot for the drone port to go in that doesn't break things. How about there? I think fits. Okay, so then we paste this stuff down again. And does that not line up properly? It's saying we're dismantling some stuff, building it in like that. It's probably fine. It's probably fine. So we are 8 EM plants short. Transport platform is on its way. Vulcanist support should have the EM plants, right? And it does. So that should be on its way back. Now let's check back on Fulgora. Are all of these currently unstuck? Yes. So all of them are either running or otherwise good. Now this has a train waiting in it. Okay, so let's get this sorted out. Fulgora needs more capacity on all of this. So you are going to be... You're going to be pasted out for all the good that that'll do. And then, more importantly, we need this whole mess. But no, not blueprinted. We need this whole mess. Stop blueprinting it. I need to not hold shift when I do that. That's like a shortcut or something. So that all goes in, and then we're going to need to rebuild that storm protector before everything here explodes. Because exploding would be bad. So where is the Spidertron? The Spidertron's right down there. But the lightning collector is probably gonna... They're probably gonna try to build it from way over somewhere else. Alright, so now the lightning collector is in. And we just have to wait for all this stuff to get built so that our blue circuits can drain properly, like the red circuits are doing. So they're almost empty except for a couple on this side. It is kind of weird the way that prioritization happens. I don't really like that, but it's fine ultimately. It's not like a huge deal. So we have all this stuff running, and it's doing what it can. Fulgora is short on speed modules, although it still has some, so it could be worse. So this is all outputting, and hopefully it sorts itself out. And that belt needs to exist and be upgraded. Okay, so that is all now going through, and why is there... Oh, right, so these blue circuits here recycle down into all sorts of weird things. So now these are just outputting red and green circuits here. And then those red and green circuits get turned into all sorts of things down here. We might need like a third row of outputs to keep this going properly. Although it is currently working reasonably well. It's currently working reasonably well, so that's nice. But yeah, we're gonna need stuff to do with all these blue circuits. And fortunately, we do have a plan of what we're doing with them. We're going to be quality cycling a whole bunch of them, which is going to be an entirely separate process from this. And let's see, do we actually want to start working on that? What are we doing over on Vulcanus? Is this all up and running? No, but it should be soon, hopefully. Okay, and transport platforms got all sorts of stuff. So you can bring those up to Fulgora, and what we are going to do is we are going to take this, and we are going to we're going to connect these guys up to the train network, so that then we can take output from the blue circuits and do useful stuff with it. So this just... Actually, can we just connect this up to other things? So the output is this way, and the output here is this one. So if we just like connect you up to you, and then get a... There's a lot of just like random crossings here on Fulgora, which I really do not love. But that is connected up, and then this one is the input, and the input needs to go back to like up here as well. So you need to loop all the way around up this way, and then this is the input. So if we just get that train connected down to here, then that should be good, I think. So we need a chain signal going into that, and a chain signal going into that. And then we need rail signals coming out of those, and out of those. And then we're going to need a similar setup over on the other side. Okay, so this station here is blue circuit supplier. Blue circuit supplier. And that is the blue circuits, which are past the whole recycling thing, so I don't need to worry about whether or not they're recycled or not. Okay, so this is all going. It's not capable of continually running like this, I don't think. Okay, so here's what I think we do need to get, like, just a separate row of this. So we need to copy paste some of this stuff, and if we just like plop these down in here like so, then that pillar being in the way is super annoying, but whatever. So we get these all built in, and they output this way, and they take some of this stuff and pick it up and recycle it. Then they just output it back onto this line. So that should dramatically decrease the amount of stuff on this line, because a lot of it is getting immediately picked up by this line of recyclers. So hopefully that'll speed us up. Hopefully that will speed us up a little bit more. And there we go. And obviously the more of these we have, the better. And the faster they get their modules, the better. Okay, some of these guys are missing inserters, so let's get those in. Okay, now this then has the problem that this is outputting onto the wrong side, so we actually want, no, we want it to be the opposite of that. We want this to wrap around like that. No, wait. This needs to wrap around a little bit further in order for it to work. So you wrap around like that, and now that Now these guys are taking a whole lot of the items off of these rows before they even get the chance to start, which should be helpful. Should be helpful in maximizing the ability of these guys to work properly. So that is all running now, and is this going faster? It's hard to say, but all of the first row, everything that these are outputting are getting picked up and cleared. So that is a pretty good sign that this is working. So now we just need to... Can we just move that a little bit further, and that's not going to break coverage. So now we just want a couple more of these guys to go in, since we can handle them now. Okay, so that's all going. And again, I think we can benefit by getting some long-handled inserters in here, just to pick up some of the items off of that distant belt before it gets here. It won't be a big difference, but it'll help with this belt speed limit a little bit, because it's very much limited by half of a belt at this point, with all those dang green circuits that are going out. Alright, so that's happening, and this train stuff has all gotten built up in the meantime, and okay, we have managed to break things. So I think that means we're just missing a rail segment somewhere. So that gets a rail segment, that gets a rail segment, that gets a chain. Oh wait, no, that gets a chain, not a rail, and this one gets a rail. So if that goes in, then that should all be functional again. And is this working at all? It's still just like not getting enough of this output to actually function. But it's probably a little bit better now. So really we need this to... We need like a separate setup over here to just copy paste this to. Or realistically, we just need to get the cycling going on. So this is attached to the train network. So now let's just get the Spidertron over onto this island over here. And this is the island where we're going to be building on next. It seems reasonably spacious. So let's get some storm coverage up. And let's find a big electrical pole and bring that over to here. So that goes over. And we also need storm coverage in there for all this. So now that's all protected. So now we just have to get a setup like this. That's way too cramped actually. Let's just grab this one probably. So we grab that and we're going to build it in. So that can all go down. And then the drone port gets connected across like that, and then it needs to be powered up. So that can just connect up like that. So you're now connected to the power grid, and then we're going to need to get that one connected up to the power grid as well, so that this all works. Okay. So this we apparently need a little bit more storm coverage in this area, so let's get one of those in for now. So this is going to be legendary. So this is going to be blue circuits input. That doesn't need to be camel case. That can just be 3 words. And then we get processing units. And instead of input, let's call this destination, because that's a little bit less ambiguous as to what it's doing. So that is all in, and the drones have made it over and gotten everything built. Alright, so now we need to take these stack inserters and have them, first of all, be stack inserters instead of bulk inserters, and then second of all, have them face that way. And then we need, oh, we do still want these to be turbo bells, we just want them to be facing the other way. So these all rotate about like that. And then all those splitters rotate. And now this can be a nice convenient supply of all the blue circuits we could ever want. So all we need to do is get a T-junction from somewhere. And actually, it's not even like a T-junction. It's going to be like 2 weird little junctions. So you go out to that way. You go out to that way. So this side up here is the output. So this is going to be going up to there and then out down to there. And this one is the input. So it's going to be going up to there and then out down to there. And so then we're going to get junctions, signals onto all of these. So you get a chain signal, and this side gets a chain signal, and then we're also going to have those down here. So you get a chain signal, and up here gets a chain signal. Then we get rail signals there and there. And we need to have the Spidertron build these guys manually, because we're not in drone range a lot of the time up here. So that all gets built out. And then this is where things go in. So you get a rail signal, and then the Spidertron is going to run down here. Actually, just kidding. Let's get those rails built first. Okay, some drones were confused temporarily, but they figured it out. So that whole thing gets built, and then you are... Okay, so you're the input, you're the output, so you need to be a chain signal. I got those confused. You need to be a chain signal, you need to be a rail signal. Alright, so now Spidertron runs down here, gets that filled out, runs up here to get that built up. Okay, so that's everything. And apparently we don't have any... Okay, so this didn't quite connect up properly. So this isn't... Oh, I see. So that looked like it was connected there, but it actually wasn't. So we need that drone port to get attached across for everything to work properly. And then we have this. So let's get a train into here. So we get a train, we get 1, 2, 3, 4 cargo wagons. And that'll get built up eventually. It says they're missing the material for construction, but I don't believe them. I think they have been queued up and it just hasn't updated yet. Yep, that is the case. Okay, so that is all going. And Now the Spidertron is also just occasionally receiving some resupplies. So once this gets its train, then I can give the train its settings. Okay, apparently there's a rail signal right in there, which we definitely don't want. Now this... Okay, we didn't get the signal down here yet. So let's run down there, get that built in. Alright, so now this should be all set up and ready to go. So over on Vulcanus, all this production has been built up, and it looks like blue circuits are backlogging, and green circuits are backlogging, but red circuits aren't. So, when in doubt, just add another couple of those guys in. And this is going to be so many red circuits once it gets built. The productivity is so good on these now. Like, it's... Okay, low power. Did the fusion generators... What's going on here? So you still have plenty. These are power output as much as they can, but it's only... Did this not get built right, or what's going on here? What is going on here? These should be way more than they're currently doing. So these ones down here are getting no input fluid. I just sneezed for a bit there. Sorry about that. So the plasma is not getting all the way down. So these are at max capacity. Okay, so we actually somehow... Okay, so with all of this... With all these EM plants and stuff going now, we just don't have enough power capacity to do it. Except, like, maybe sometimes during the day our accumulators can get charged a little bit, but then it's not enough. So this fusion plant, I could have sworn we had this set up properly. I could have sworn we had this set up properly. So this is max output of 400 megawatts of plasma, and then this takes that and I guess just transforms it. I could have sworn that there was something that we had done to make this better than that, but apparently not. Okay, so what we need to do is... Oh, right, I remember. This had been planned to have a whole neighbor bonus thing going with 4 of them. So we get you in, we flip that vertically, and then you go into there. That whole belt up there, which we'd be overwriting, is irrelevant, right? So if we pop this down like that, then all of these will have 3 neighbors instead of just 1. The efficiency will skyrocket, and then it'll all be good. We are going to need to build that drone port back in. So drone port, you can go in that gap there. And hopefully that'll get everything all cleared out. So these are all getting built. None of them say it's missing. And so that should way more than double the amount of power output that we get, because all the neighbor bonuses will start kicking in. And so we're getting the extra fuel up there as well. And we just need all that stuff to get built. So this one is now active. Or at least it will be. We need the cryo plant. This is what I get for only requesting one cryo plant at a time, I think. So you can request 5 cryo plants at a time. And that cryo plant is necessary, right? Yeah, it is. And I guess we also should be moving more drone coverage over to that side because these guys are no longer in range, although I don't think they're needed necessarily. Alright, so how do we get the cryo plant down here to Vulcanus? We've got some there. Do we have any just like on transport platform? No. Do any of these guys just randomly carry cryo plants? No. Okay, so we're just going to have to wait for this to get over to Vulcanus, which should be just a couple stops away, and you have 7 cryo plants on board. So the power is going to be a bit messed up until then, but we can actually no. Here's what we can do. We can just yoink one of the cryo plants from the plastic setup. We have more plastic production than we need at this point. So we're going to pick that up, get this one built in so that it can do its thing. And apparently we need a power pole over there for you. And did I somehow mess up the ability of this to output the barrels? So let's get those in. Okay, so now this side is also running, and it is going, but still low at the moment. But this produces 8 per second, so it should be able to keep up eventually. Yeah, this should be fine, because this one eventually got us there, so we just need this one to get us there. And there's still low input fluid. Okay, so let's just get you heavily moduled so that now you're 20 per second. So you're now providing more fluoroketone than this can actually use. So now that is building up and should be good to go. So now if we check the power grid, this is now much, much stronger. So the maximum power bonus is way higher. Now these ones down here are still only showing a... This one's still only showing a 100% neighbor bonus for some reason. I don't know why that is. So this one's showing like 200%. This one's showing like 90% for some reason. I don't fully understand what's going on, but looks like these guys are just all filling up to the point where they are doing everything they need to. And now we're keeping up much better. So these are currently producing... The all-time peak is actually exactly a gigawatt, and they only need to produce like half that under normal circumstances. But now all of these guys down here are capable of producing power. Alright, so that's that. Power problem resolved. And then we will put this guy back in and get it moduled up, just so that when that next delivery of plastic and stuff shows up, then we'll be all good to go. Alright, so our red circuit output is still churning along, going at full speed. Probably just needs to be going at full speed to make all the speed modules. We're up to almost our full spare capacity, so that should be fine. So over on Fulgora, this train got built, and you are now going to be the processing unit. So you are blue circuits and just regular. So you go blue circuit supplier until you're full. You go to blue circuits destination until you're empty. And that is all. So that'll be getting blue circuits from here and then sending them over to this, which is going to be our quality cycling setup. So that is going, and that's gonna put us very far ahead on our blue circuit cycling here, which is cool. So then we have to go all the way over to here, and I believe our blue circuit, our cycling system was this over here, right? Okay, now what else did we need for this? We also needed a relatively small amount of ice cubes and some fuel from out there, so that's not going to be a problem. Okay, so I don't know why we split this into 2 batches the way we did. So what we need to do is, can we just yoink like all of this entire setup, and we're going to be catching some things around the corners, but it'll just be easier to do it like this and then delete the extra stuff than some other scheme. So we get this and we place you in. So that is built. Now we don't need all of that stuff. And let's see here. What else was there that was part of something else? I can't remember. Let's get the storm protector in so that that's all sorted out. Okay, so we have what? Up here we have the ice cubes going in. We have the heavy oil residue going in. And we're going to have the iron plates going in. And that will give us our sulfuric acid. And then we have this, which should just be able to scale down. And that all gets connected up. And so now this, we just make a whole giant row of them till it works. Oh wait, this stuff over here. Wait, some of this stuff was important and some of it wasn't. Okay, let's look back over here to figure out what all this stuff did. So these were these whole setups, right? So we actually need all of these for the logic. So let's copy those and bring them over here as well. And they will be lined up like that. But then this underground belt was something unrelated, I think. Okay, so then let's also get drone coverage down that way so that these guys are all in. And that's going to be taken from very far away, but the productivity is going to be so high that it's not really going to matter that we have drones making a super long and slightly dangerous trip. Although we should still try to do something about it. So let's get those areas covered, and those are all within drone port range, so that should be fine. Then we're also going to want to get this area covered, apparently all the way up to like there. And we're going to need to get the Spidertron up there for that. Okay, so this is mostly built. So all we need is the offshore pump and the rest of this. So that goes up. Somehow we don't have any offshore pumps. I could have sworn we must have automated offshore pumps at some point. Offshore. Let's see. No, apparently not. Do not know how that is at all possible. But I guess we'll just do that real quick. So offshore pump is 2 gear wheels and 3 pipes. So let's just get in a crafting machine over here. Relatively quick, close to everything else. And so you get to be the guy that makes the offshore pumps. And where are those? They're right there. And so then this requester chest is gear wheels and pipes. And apparently we need drone ports to cover up to this area. So let's get one of those in. And then once the power poles get placed, it'll all be good. Apparently the Spidertron got struck by lightning at some point. Whoopsies. But we have much better lightning coverage in that area at least. So now the Spidertron can run back somewhere safe. Okay. Offshore pump supply, good. Okay, we don't need that many of them. You take a chill pill. Alright, so now we have offshore pumps. One of them is going to get brought down here eventually. And that should then get the whole thing running. So we're getting ice cubes delivered very slowly. We're getting blue circuits delivered quite fast. And this whole blue circuit system has managed to fully desaturate now because of all these guys coming in. Okay, so I just want... You have your iron plates. The water exists more or less. And... Actually, have we gotten our ice cube supply from here? No, we can do that though. And actually, where's our ice cube cycler? So that's stone, that's steel. Oh boy, ice cube cycler. Where? There's so many of these dang things everywhere that I just don't know where it is. Is it that one? No, it's not that one. Is it this one way over here? Yes, it is this one. So, congratulations, you get a passive provider chest so that we can get some ice cubes from that spot instead of on the other side of the planet. So that should make it a little bit faster for all of this train stuff to get drone support in. It won't make a huge difference though. The important part is that we have some ice cubes, right? And we're getting plenty of water. Now we have that. So now we have our sulfuric acid. Okay, so the only thing left to do is to just grab that, run you up here and into that belt, and this should then activate and start producing more of these guys, and then we'll be able to copy paste this a bunch and get a huge amount of legendary blue circuits out of it. And then how do we want to do the whole legendary thing? Because having them take this whole massive trip across the entire planet seems highly impractical, to say the least. I guess we can get a buffer chest in up here. So we get a buffer chest in, and you are going to request... You're going to request legendary blue circuits, and probably also legendary red and green circuits. Legendary red circuits. Legendary green circuits. So you will be a buffer chest right up there by the launch pad, so that we don't have to worry too much about all about getting them from all the way over here. So these are cycling now. They seem to be working properly. Alright, so that should be good to go. So I think we're going to call it there for today. We've got actual reasonable speed module production going. We've improved the Vulcanist power supply by a ton with all these fusion generators. And boy, it really does need it, huh? And finally, we have gotten our new setup on Fulgora to actually do something useful sometimes. And we just need to expand this out like crazy, like take up probably this entire island to get a reasonable output rate. And that will be what we're doing next time. So, that's about it. Thanks, Evan, for hanging out. I will be here again tomorrow doing Satisfactory, where we are working on Fixonium power plants, and we're almost done with that, so that's cool. And then we'll be back in Factorio on Friday, doing more Legendary Blue Circuit expansion. Now we have all the infrastructure we need to just, like, click this out and get a bunch of them, and that will be real cool. So, that will be that. So thanks, Evan, for hanging out, and I will see you guys next time.